Northern what?
Si tulisazemwa kati.
Where
are you Jane?
Okay, hello there, my name is Hamza again. I'm here to share with you some great physics. What happens right here where we are. Many of us come and take photos. Right here I'm in Uganda, where we have what we call the equator line, the imaginary bisexual line that divides the earth into two equal parts. So most of us do not know actually the physics behind this line and behind this position where we are. So I'm standing not at the center. Some people think it's the center of the earth. It's not the center of the earth. But if you're to take the earth to be in the shape of a sphere, then it looks like this orange. If you look at this orange, its center is right inside the orange. But the outer part of it, even the earth behaves the same way. We stand on the outer part of the earth. And now, if you're standing on this line, the imaginary line called the equator, this is what happens. If you look at an orange and you cut it round, then the line it forms in the middle, even the equator forms the same. So if you break the orange into two parts, then our equator forms what we call the southern hemisphere, because half of a sphere is called a hemisphere. Then we also form what we call the northern hemisphere. So this line predicts that if the earth at one time could be broken into two, this is where the earth could split from. The house behind me could split into two parts. The people behind me, if you stand with one leg on one side and the other on the other side, one leg in the northern hemisphere, another in the southern hemisphere, then if the earth is to break into two, one leg will go in the southern hemisphere and the other will go in the northern hemisphere. That is the reason why when you get into the deeper physics of this, you'll see that when you go to the southern hemisphere, the toilets down there are flashing in the anti-clockwise direction, whereas the northern hemisphere, the toilets are flashing in the clockwise direction. It's because of the predictions and the forces that we experience from this line. So furthermore, you will see that as items stand on the Earth's surface, the Earth is spinning about its axis. If I may get another orange, which is in form of a prediction, take a look at this orange. This orange can be rotating like this. This is how the Earth rotates about its axis. But it doesn't rotate upwards, it rotates at an angle, something like this. Now, for those bodies that are close to the equator, when they are here, they are experiencing the greatest, what we call centripetal force, the greatest force with which we are rotating on the Earth. Whereas people who are on the northern hemisphere up here, for example, where the Earth is rotating from, for them, they are practically stationary. And in that case, they experience a very small centripetal force. And for them, their weight is always, in most cases, accurate and more correct and close to what the exact value is. Whereas people who are at the equator, they have a different weight. When we get to the equator and measure our weight is always reduced by a certain value, and the value of which the weight reduces comes from the force due to the centripetal force we are experiencing at the equator. So when we are at the equator, right now, we who are at the equator right now, we are experiencing the greatest centripetal force the Earth has. That is why when we weigh ourselves on the weighing scales here, we weigh less than when we weigh a distance away from the equator. That is why when people are launching, for example, those who have spaceships, and they are launching space vehicles to space, they always launch them close to the equator. Reason being, close to the equator, it's where we have the greatest Earth's velocity. And in that sense, they have a bigger resultant velocity they produce for the rockets and space vehicles. So it's easier to launch bodies around the equator than launching them at the north or southern poles or any other place beyond the equator line. So with that, today I wanted to share with you and let you know one of the roles and one of the important physics aspects that we have for the line which divides the Earth into two equal parts. My name is still Hamza Lubamba, and I will still travel around the world to show you more about physics. And today we have been here at the equator getting to know the relevancy of the imaginary line which we call the equator, which divides the Earth into two parts.